Hello and welcome to the Creators Guild podcast. I'm Chris Howell and with me,
Jared Lovelady.
And we're here to talk about all things creative. And also with me is Adam and Jackie, who are very vocal.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yes, Adam and Jackie are back with us. As we said last week, we finished book one. Everything from the prologue through the epilogue. Book one is now read. It is out there. So we've invited Adam and Jackie back because now we can talk about all the things. We don't have to worry about spoilers, except for what you've read for book two.
Exactly.
We do know a bit more. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep it in the confines of what you determined as book one.
The allowance.
Yes. Yeah, so we were just talking through, we were kind of rehashing like, okay, what all happens within book one? From you guys' perspective, we've gotten through the whole thing. What do you think changes wise and where book one ended today now?
Yeah, I mean, having been a part of this journey for so many years and talking through the characters and the arcs and the storylines, a lot of what we know is beyond this book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's trying to reel back in it, and a lot of it's conversation or text or whatever through the year. So, but it's a good ending. I remember that first manuscript we had.
Yeah.
Went a little bit further than there's the things that I'm assuming book two will start with.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. Those are some of my favorite chapters of what is coming. So,
Yeah.
I guess wait and see.
I guess I'm floored at how many changes there have been and how much it has like expanded and expanded and expanded. I think all of the changes that y'all made, I've been really happy with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, I guess, reading it and then y'all asking for criticisms. It's really hard because I couldn't write a book. I could like all the detail that goes into it. There's just so much. And then y'all are like, actually, we tweaked this because later this. And it's just, there's so much and it's so intricate. But I think all of the changes you've made have just made it even more exciting. And yeah.
I agree. The previous iterations, the prologue was, something unrelated to what was happening in this book, which would come into play later. But I think setting up with this prologue and then jumping into the story at this time was a better fit.
I think that was a huge, crucial change because it sucks you in instantly. You're like, here's the intrigue right from the get-go. Like,
yeah.
And that was some of my criticism early on. I'm not an avid reader. I don't read books. It's just the life phase that we're at. We got 3 little kids and we're busy with school and sports and all the things. And I just can't sit still long enough to read a book, but lots of audiobooks.
Yeah. So
get me intrigued early.
Yeah.
And so those changes definitely helped, is the journey, through the canyon a little bit longer than I would write? Absolutely. But that's okay. But again, the arcs, how many 49 books? How many?
14.
But yeah, you just have so much content. And you were actually talking on it in a previous podcast about how you like all the detail. And I do too, right? Sanderson and other people that give you a lot of detail. But also there's times it's like, holy cow, man, let's just go. Get to the point. So that was my only criticisms with that early journey through the canyon. It's like, are people going to turn it off?
Yeah.
Or put the book down?
Well, that was specifically, we made some changes based on comments that you specifically made about that, because originally, the original thing we passed on to you was we had that first prologue, the whole scene with Dorinda and intrigue within the house, and like we didn't have any of that
Yeah.
in the beginning at all.
Yeah.
We had the prologue where we introduced Lady Iskar and Alandar, and we like very early on, way ahead of where our story actually begins. And then we jumped right into Tuara goes riding, and then she goes out and she meets the Trekken, and then she goes from the Trekken to more Trekken, and then she sits down with her friends and she has breakfast with Shalea, and then they talk, and then they go for a ride, and then they ride out on the road, and then they ride down into the canyon, and then they fall, and then
Get lost.
And the banter and the personalities and
Yeah.
everything else. But yeah, it's just
So all of that was there, but there was no, Dorinda didn't die, her mother didn't die, her mother was just already dead with no backstory as to why.
right.
It's
There was no Teth and Balor. There was no,
Right.
until they got into the canyon and were settled where had that little respite, the little oasis on that journey through the canyon. Then two bad guys came and we had no idea who
Right.
they were. That was just like threat.
Right.
And then they run away.
Right. So
Then
there
I'm
was no like easing you into it or creeping
Yeah.
you out of it.
and her father was already dead.
Yes.
He had died before the books, even started. It was just like, oh, and by the way, he's dead.
Oh, I forgot.
Well, there was two different versions. One was her father was already dead, and then the second one was while she was being attacked in the canyon,
Yeah.
there was an attack at her house, and her father. When she gets back, Corvin confronts. So in the book now, she gets home. Her father's not there because he's gone to Glen Heights for trade negotiations.
Mhm.
And when Corvin confronts her, instead of saying, like now there's a bunch of stuff that's happened. We've heard about threats. There were assassinations of two other princess elect in other parts of the realm, and this threat on your life and all this stuff. It's unthinkable that you went out riding and everything. Whereas what you guys read first was, it's unthinkable that you went out riding and your father was killed while you were away.
Right.
And she finds out at that confrontation with Corvin when she gets back home. Captain Ethrin didn't even know about it because he had been sent out to find her. And while he was out looking for Tuara and Tuara was being attacked, her father was killed at that point.
So,
Which
go ahead.
well, that was preceded
Right. I was
by-
thinking of another one, but I couldn't remember.
by her father being the jerk, being the a-hole.
Yeah.
That was how it originally was.
I was really glad when you changed that. I'm a bit
Yeah,
like a daddy's girl, and so I was like, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we made that change, we were both like, "Oh, this is so much better."
yeah.
If you remember right, we still had the scene with Corvin where in the arena with the practice swords in
Mhm.
one of the versions. And while that practice is happening, it's not just Tessera wasn't even there in the original one. It was Corvin and Tuara's father. And Tuara's father let all that happen with Corvin. And then he was just like, she should learn to be better.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we were like, a-hole.
Yeah.
Dad, it's an a-hole.
But you wrote it.
Yeah.
You are good at getting those feels, like all of them.
So it's been a fun journey. It's been years. So it has been fun. So disclaimer, right? Like we've gone through so many iterations. Like I get lost
I do get confused.
Be-
I'm like, wait, what actually happened?
because the story arcs, because we know more of what is going to happen and does happen, are so great and fun and exciting. And there's other chapters that will be part of book 2. And so the beginning of book 2 should be pretty fun and exciting and fast paced. And then there's other people that we haven't met yet who become. It's just gonna be great. So hurry up.
Yeah, we had, and I'm going to throw out his name. He'll put Alan Brooks. You guys know Alan. Well, I don't know if you know Alan.
The child.
You know Alan Brooks.
Oh, yes. Okay, I was like, with the name. Okay, yes.
So it's my sister's husband, but
Oh, okay.
is he the same age as you ish? Maybe a little
A couple
more.
years. He's probably he's a couple years younger.
Anyway, so we grew up with Alan, and Alan is my brother-in-law now. And I get a message from Alan after he's listened to the podcast, and he's doing some writing, and I'm really excited that he said, like, after seeing what Jared and I have done and listening to the podcast and stuff, he's like, I'm really excited about what I'm writing now.
Oh,
And it's exciting to, like, you're inspiring me to just write the stuff that I've wanted to write. We're like, yes, Alan, go. And then he says, I saw the episode with Adam and Jackie. And the question I have for you is, why am I not included in all the things?
Right.
And
Well,
I'm like, well, Alan. And he's like, do you like spoilers? And he's like, yes. I want to be Adam and Jackie too.
Oh, he
I want to
wants
be
to know
involved in
all
all
the
of this too.
That is awesome.
well, to just the background, which I think
It's a
we
heavy
discussed
load to bear,
the first
I
one.
will say.
Yeah.
Or the first time we were on the show was, you guys did this on the way down to visit us to buy a car for Jared.
Yeah.
And you wrote it on the way down, and then we talked about it that night. And so, like, literally, we've been a part of it from day one, and that was
That was in like 2000.
2012? Is that when we were?
It was 11,
Oh,
2011.
Yeah.
And we just finished college. She was finishing her college, like her student teaching, and
because y'all stayed at my
I
dad's
hadn't
house,
started
right?
work yet. With my career, I had been hired by my, the company I work for still, but I hadn't started yet. So it was, anyway, it's been a long time. It's like 12 years. And, so that's why. So not that Alan is important.
Yeah.
We just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
And ask all the questions because I cannot.
Well, and it's funny because I texted Alan and I were texting back and forth, and I had said, "Do you want to know spoilers?" And then it was all caps, like, "Yes, give me all the spoilers." So then, when I figured he'd have a little bit of time, I called him, and I'm like, "Okay, do you want to know? You had some questions." And in one of the episodes, he listened to another episode, and he's like, "You had said, like, there's some people that are going to come up that are going to be critical to this thing that's going to happen in the future and whatnot. Who is that?" And I'm like, "You don't even know who these characters are yet."
Where would you begin with that answer too? Like,
Yeah. So I
it's the
literally,
name, the end. Like,
we ended up, I was on the phone with him for like 3 hours.
Oh,
And he was just like, and I mean, well, you guys know, we've driven from Texas to Missouri for like 7.5 hours on the phone with you guys driving and us driving, talking. We're like,
End up to St. Louis for that drift
Right.
event.
Yeah.
or late nights,
Or-
or like
I
we
was
could
in-
keep going on this topic.
I was
but-
in
for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in
Turning
Chicago
comments.
for a work trip, and I just went to a Cardinals Cubs game,
Yeah.
and I was in the back of an Uber, stuck in traffic after
I remember
a Cubs
that,
game,
yeah.
and you called me and read me. It was actually your short story, which
Mhm.
you've now told us is somehow integrated.
Yes.
You told us how that's integrated, but so listening to that story, so yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Also, the Uber driver has been Googling trying to figure out what the book is.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I had headphones on. No secrets are spilled. But
Yeah.
So the blessing and the curse is like we know, but like the curse of it is like we have to wait for you guys to like flesh it out and add all the detail because we're talking about the characters in the big events, but it's not all
Yeah.
the detail of what does the rug look like or the tapestry or what was said by
Yeah.
the maid when she came in.
Well, not just that, but it's like, I mean, we've talked about trying to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard to get the words on the page where you're like, this is where my character needs to go, but they're here right now. And I can't just be like, oh, now they're there now.
Right.
Like, well, how did they get there?
Yeah.
But they couldn't just stop being in situation A and now they're in situation B. It's not a comic strip.
I think that's what sets like writers aside though. Like that's why so many people are like, I couldn't write a book. Well, I could come up with some kind of story, but it's that part that's like all the detail and getting them there and the dialogue that has to happen. And
Well, and then you guys know your
So
characters, right?
Yeah.
Like, her dad was a butthole, right?
Yeah.
You know, and obviously you went back and rewrote it, but like, well, this is on par. This is how this character would act, right? So you've thought them through and discussed it amongst yourselves to figure out, okay, well, so I think Jared, you talked about somebody a while ago, right? And again, like obviously Jared's my brother, Chris is basically the brother. You know, and for Christmas and Thanksgiving and the 4th of July, all the holidays that we get together for, and playing Uno and talking through this stuff just in passing. You know, like you wanted to write something about Tora one way, and you wrote it that way. It's just not, that's not who she is. And
Yeah.
you rewrote it. And I can't remember the exact details other than you're like, I just couldn't do her justice
Yeah.
by writing it that way. So I had to rewrite it to the way she was, although it would have been convenient for the story, which is cool. So I guess my biggest takeaway is like how detailed, right? Like J.K. Rowling, world building, right? Brandon Sanderson, world building, detail upon detail. This is 12 years in the making, the boards and all the things that you have and the arcs and the people and the storylines. So for those who are fans and interested, like it just gets better, right? You're just getting started.
Yeah.
Because my favorite story arcs and characters haven't even been introduced.
Yeah, and that's really, like you were saying, we'll talk about some things we're doing in book 2. But that you listen, you don't know yet.
But they, yeah, so like they've done the work. This is not just like, you know, okay, Ready Player One, loved that book.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this did really well. How about Ready Player Two?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that book was an afterthought. It was definitely an afterthought. You could tell they're like, I would like some more money, please. Like, not that the book was awful, but you could tell like the foresight was not there to plan that ahead for that.
Yeah.
Where you guys have
You
planned ahead. Like you've got it all. You just have to now fill in.
Yeah, I don't know how many times we've said, like, I wish there was just some way that I could plug something into my brain and
Yes,
download the story out. Because I'm like, it's all there.
Yeah.
We already know, even, you know, there's some details we're working out of specific pathways, you know, like I said, of the details of, well, how do they get from this city to this city when they're facing this threat and now this other piece is going to happen here? There's got to be some traveling and some movement to get there. And it has to jive with, you know, we can't have holes in gaps in timelines. Events have
Why
to
did they go
align.
to that scene?
Yeah, what's the driver to send them over there? Something has to get them there. They can't just end up there because magic,
Yeah.
you know. So, but like, even with not knowing every detail, most of it, even down to a lot of those details, we already know. And I'm like, we just can't write it
Right.
fast enough.
Just
Does it-
adulting.
Does
Hey,
it
you guys have jobs.
I
Does
know,
it stress
freaking
you out?
jobs.
does it stress you out or hold you up knowing that so many things have changed when you're working out that detail? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like we talked about her dad changing so much, or like his character completely switching, and or you've cut some things out, or
Yeah, there's some
Change.
outlining we've done where one of the times I called Jared and I'm like, Jared, I have to talk through this right now because I realized there's some detail because we made some changes and my brain is reverting back to this other stuff and we didn't write this down yet. The other piece is written down and then we talked through this one piece. We didn't write it down and I've gone through my notes and it's not there.
oh gosh.
So I'm like, we have to write it. So we spent like a whole weekend. It was a total of like 9 hours over a weekend, just
rehashing.
and bullet pointing out pages of bullet points. And the stuff we're hashing out is like book 14. Because
So you don't have to, but
We
if,
have- we
if
like-
you're gonna like plant little seeds along the way, like
Yeah.
you've got to have it hashed out.
it was, we changed these things which cause these events to change. Like they're the same events, but the way they happen have to be different. And what's happening right now in book 2 that we're currently editing, we're currently editing, we have to know where this is going. But also, what we're doing right now ties all the way back into the prequel, which takes place 15,000 years before book one starts.
Right.
And we have to know how that happened to know how this thing in book 14 ends, so we
So
know
we
what
can
Talara does
In book 2.
in like chapter 6 of book 2.
No, I was going to say,
Oh my gosh.
but we've talked about the prequel stuff as well, which is also very fun and exciting.
Yeah.
It's chapter.
I guess I start thinking about like other authors when you read, their book series and you're like, oh, book 1 was good. Oh, book 2 was even better. Book 3. And then you get to book 4 or whatever the last book is. And you're like, they were tired of writing.
Yeah.
They were over it. And so they like took shortcuts. So instead of explaining the journey from point A to point B, they did say, oh, and then they appeared in this town. And you're like, but how and why? And it's
Yeah.
just lazy writing. Like how?
That just happened to me. I just finished a book series, not going to name names. And it had been so awesome. It had been such a fun journey. And I was waiting for the last book to come out. It came out, obviously listened to it, and got to the end. And it was just like, yeah. And then they won. And this happened. And then this happened. And they just told us what happened instead of telling the story.
I didn't even
Yeah.
read the series with him. I just heard the last of that. And it ended and he was like, well, that was kind of disappointing. I was like, it kind of sounded like they were just like summarizing what they planned to write and then published the summary.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that's how it felt.
But it was just the last couple chapters. Like the first part of the book was great.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
I'm done.
climax, here's all the
information.
crazy stuff, all these things that we've been building since book 1. And they rode off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And they won. And then they got this and they got that. And this happened to these people in the end.
So instead of filming the movie that plays in my head, they just read kind of the script.
Yeah.
Like it was really lame. How do you, I don't know.
Well, we kind of have gotten off topic of just talking about.
I don't know. That's
Spoilers.
yeah.
I just think about how y'all have, 14 kind of plus books if you've got like prequel and stuff. Like, how do you stay excited about
Well,
all of it and keep it fresh?
I think for both of us, like we were talking about just last week, we're both like, man, I feel kind of like it's kind of a burnt out feeling, but not from burnt out as in I don't want to write anymore. It's like, oh, I got to work. So
Okay.
like I had to stop because take like 6 weeks to do a remodel in my house because the roof came off my house because of hail damage and it was getting replaced.
Oh,
Like, well, while the roof comes off and the solar panels are off my house, we need to do this remodel in this end of the house. So that's like taking up all my time. And Jared came up and helped with it. And, we're just barely finishing that up. We did it. We had 4 days between November 8th and November 11th. Well, the 12th. So Monday was 11th, the 12th, Tuesday, the 12th. We had that time. That,
Cut the end of his house off.
yeah, a quarter of my house.
Cut
We
the roof
literally
off.
cut the entire roof off, rafters, everything down to bare walls, tore the inside of the walls off, and then stood up new walls because the walls were only 4 foot high in this bonus room. So we stood new walls up and then put a new roof on and extended it out over the house and with a gabled ceiling and everything, and had to like tear it all off, put it all back on and be ready by Tuesday. So we were supposed to start Friday. It rained Friday, heavy rains Friday.
of course.
So Saturday afternoon, we started the tear off rip everything off my house. And the roofers came to deliver shingles and put the shingles on the house they dropped the shingles off Monday, put the shingles on Tuesday, and then it started thunderstorming again Wednesday morning. So, and then from
Of
there,
course it
it's
did.
like, yeah. So that was just in November. Well, then since then, it's been, okay, I got to keep finishing everything inside the house. And I still have a full-time job, and we're still having to write. We're still trying to write, still trying to plot things out, and we're trying to build a studio in the basement and set that all up and everything. And I'm like, Jared, we're not getting any freaking work done on our book.
Adulting.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's frustrating. It really is. But we still move forward.
Yeah.
We got some writing done today, a little bit in the car.
Yeah.
And
Well, you're welcome for the
Yeah.
road trip.
yes.
Yeah. Anytime. just let us know. We're not getting any writing done. We'll be like, well, we need you to come see us.
Yeah, you got to come to Texas. You got to
Yeah.
drive to Texas. It's 7 hours. 7 hours in the car.
Yeah,
Okay, writing time.
We'll put some things on your calendar.
sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so changes. You guys' thoughts on? We talked through like the original thing that you read. The original, there was no Teth or Ballard.
Right.
Jackie, how do you like Teth and Ballard?
It's so hard, okay, because y'all write these characters really well, and like I hate them. It's like I'm supposed to hate them.
Yeah.
Right.
If it didn't spark emotion, it wouldn't.
And I feel like y'all kindly changed some events that were going to be so they still are sad.
Yeah.
But they were going to be sadder. And
Like
like the friends. I don't know if I feel like I
This-
can't say things.
no, you can say this is we've read the whole thing. Everybody knows.
So,
Yeah,
no,
but like all the friends were going to die.
Yeah, all
All
four.
four of them. And it was so sad. And I'm like reading, I'm like, why are or listening? I can't remember if I read that part or listened to you. It's a movie in my head. So, but it was so sad. And I'm like, are you kidding? You spent all this time making me fall in love with these characters
and
and you
falling
just-
in love with each other.
and then falling in love with each other or admitting love, whatever. And then you just killed them. And I'm like, I hate the villain, whoever that is.
And you
like-
didn't just kill them.
No.
You, and I think there was a few iterations.
Yeah,
but
there's
Yeah.
never, and then
The
they
one-
died. No, like, let me explain.
you burned them alive.
Okay.
So
That's
that was pretty awful.
But yeah, as much as I
But
hate
the-
Teth and Ballard, especially Teth Creeper, I really did like that you entered, like that she saw them, that Twara saw them.
Yeah.
And she's like, are they watching us? Oh, wait, they're watching me. And then we get their perspective and then we see them again. And it's like, what are they up to? Right.
Yeah.
I guess we know pretty quickly what they're up to because, you know,
But
their
who's pulling the
perspectives, but like,
strings?
yeah, it does add like a depth of intrigue to like, who is this bad guy? Like, what is going on? But yeah, you're so good at making me hate people.
it just rounded out or added a bunch of depth to the plots that are happening.
Yes.
Because that not that I don't think that or that was the plots have always been there in your minds and in our conversations.
Yeah.
You're just making it more full and easier to understand it. Like this is not just some minor thing going on. This is a major arc of the book.
Yeah.
Somebody's at.
And I mean, there's something to be said about, you know, like in Harry Potter, there's Voldemort and there's Umbridge, right? Having like more than one person that you hate. You know, there's like the main and then other
or even the
minors or
underling,
whatever.
right? Like
There's
more-
plenty
Yeah.
of hate to go
There's
around.
plenty of hate. And yes, it's pretty good reading, you know?
but now we don't know what happens to the friends. You know, some friends die, some friends don't, and that just leaves us with more questions.
Right. It
So
does.
more cliffhanger, but
It was
Yeah.
really hard because my stepmom is reading the book and she's like, okay. And I'm like, hang on. hang on. I'm going to brace for this. She's like, I need to know that in the second book that they immediately go try to get their friends back from the mines. And I'm like, oh, is that what you need to know? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And I'm just like, I'm not saying a word because I'm like, I can't tell you because I just know it's going to be so good to like read it and her get there herself. And that like, I need to know. I'm like, well, you're going to get the second book, aren't you?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's a question I have. In my mind, you know, and Jared and I know everything we've been talking about. Like, we know where all the stuff is going.
Mhm.
So when I start thinking about our story, I'm like, I can see like here's this whole story that's happening,
Right.
and sometimes it's hard to remember like book one is just this one little piece.
Yeah.
And anybody who most people haven't sat down and had a conversation with us where we've said, well, here's this history and here's where this is going to happen and here's these new things and here's this other thing that's going to come out and this big bad that's going to be introduced and the world's going to go into chaos and fire
Right.
and destruction and all the things.
Yes.
Like,
No
okay.
spoilers, Chris.
yeah, that's just hypothetical.
All of that was hypothetical.
You know, I can't just, other people don't know what is in our heads
Right.
and what we've already plotted out in the direction that we're going
So it was
at
so
all.
interesting to know that like that's all she can think about from that book
Yeah.
one. And I'm like thinking about everything. I'm like, that's all you think about. That's to like bring it back down. It was an interesting perspective.
And that is okay. So here's the curse of knowing all these things, right? Like we know all these things, and it's going to be so long before we get all the details.
Yeah.
You know, we have the
Unless
highlights.
you know somebody who we brought this up before. If you happen to know somebody that's like, I'm just an old lady and I have millions of dollars and I just want to help someone.
Right.
I happen to know one. Get on their feet and get up and going. And then I can be like, yes, I quit my job and I just do this now.
Right. And then we'll get all
And
the
I'll be
answers
like,
sooner.
your name as my benefactor will be in all the books.
Right.
Thank you, lady so-and-so.
Best.
So if you come across somebody like
We'll
that,
keep our eye.
then we'll
Yes.
get, the books will come out a lot faster.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, you know, knowing the stories, and especially now that book one ends where it does, again, those chapters that were originally part of it, like that is some major payoff. There's some major excitement, which is how book two is going to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is there's so much. Not there. That's a lot of pages.
Yeah.
Pages.
It's 450 pages.
Yeah, but like that's such a small drop of the story. So yeah, I could.
Well, so that was the question I was asking is like, there are books where people want to see movement right away and they want to know, and we talked about, I think it was the last episode, maybe the previous one. We talked about how we had a conversation about if you know, like chapter 1, Toby, a wizard appears to Toby and tells Toby, you shall be my wizard apprentice, and here's a magic sword, and you must learn to wield it to defeat the mighty Zargoth, who wants to take over the universe. Well, you know in chapter 1, Toby is going to use the magic sword or some other thing. He will replace, he's going to be a better wizard than the person who's teaching him. He will be the hero and he will defeat the mighty Zargoth.
right.
It might take one book, it might take 7. There will be some ups and downs, there will be some pitfalls, but you know, book 1, chapter 1, Toby is the hero, he will defeat Zargoth. There's no question.
Right.
You've read Brandon Sanderson books.
Yes.
You know who the heroes are going to be without a doubt.
Yes.
You know who the main characters are going to be and who is going to win and what they're going to accomplish when you start reading The Wheel of Time. Right at the beginning, you already know. You don't know all the trajectories, all the pathways they're going to go through to get there.
Issues and concerns. And,
Yeah. But you already know they're going to win and here's what they're going, like you've already told the story. You just got the trailer that showed you the entire movie. Now you're just going to watch the movie to get the details.
Right.
In our book, we haven't laid out, here's exactly what Tawara's goals are. Here's exactly what she's supposed to accomplish. Here's what she's up against. And she's got to figure out a way to tackle that.
What's cool is that like we're on the journey with her.
Yeah.
She doesn't know like where
Yeah.
she's going to end up. She has no idea.
And
And
that-
so like we're learning with her and gaining those goals as she gains them and meeting, like that's kind of cool. That's a different
And-
experience.
And that's how, like, we're writing it. That's how our story and our expectation in everything we have mapped out is there's going to be more characters. There's going to be more stuff come in. There's going to be more main characters, more bad guys. The plot will it'll just get broader and broader and broader
Mhm.
as we go forward until like everything comes to a big resolution at the end. But we haven't said, we tried, like Tawara wants to become the Queen's Acolyte. That's a critical part of where she is right now. And she has enemies that want to defeat her.
Mhm.
But until you get to the end of book one, you don't know who the enemies are. We haven't told you who she's going to defeat. She doesn't know what she's, other than her internal goals and her expectations for what she personally wants to accomplish. We haven't told you what all the things are that are happening. You have to, like you were saying, you have to discover them with Tawara along the path.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know what her ultimate goal is yet.
Right.
She just knows what her goal is for now. So I'm like, some people are like, well, I need to know what this is going to be about right now. And I need, like the story plot structures, like inciting incident with the thing, and you're going on the adventure, and I'm like, well, yeah, but
Tell you the story.
to me, I'm like, I already know
At
the
the
story.
beginning.
Now
Yeah.
I'm just reading what color is the carpet?
Right.
And through the years, you've recommended books that you enjoy. I'm a little more of what you described, right?
Yeah.
Like, tell
Which
me,
is fine.
and that was kind of my early criticism of like, kind of get to the, let's get to the point. Not to say I don't care about the story, but like it got a little slow right out of the gate, and I knew there was going to be such great arcs and such great characters and these events. Like, let's get to that a little sooner. That's me. And some of those books you've recommended, I've tried and I'm like, I can't, just a little too slow. But to each their own. But again, knowing some things, it's just gonna get better.
But I do think I know I
Not
said it.
better.
I know
Not
I said
that's
it
not
before,
good,
but
but
like-
like there's great stuff to come.
I do think the Dorinda prologue, which, like we said, was not original. I think that
No, yeah, and
did a great job of like snagging.
they
Like,
did listen to my feedback, but also everybody has opinions. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
To each their own. And you guys have two. You guys work together, and it's great. My attention span is a little bit short.
Yeah. Well, and I guess my question was and you kind of answered it, like how do you feel about that approach versus, what is I don't want to say we're going against all norms. I'm like, because there are books that we tried to push some inciting stuff up to the beginning. We added goals to Tawara that are now integral. And we're like, hey, this actually fits,
Mhm,
and it gives us more depth to who she is.
mhm.
And those goals tie into what our main trajectory is for her. But
Your
Like-
character development is where
Yeah.
Book one is character development.
Yeah.
Introducing you to a lot of the main characters, not all, in kind of world building a little bit. So we know that there's some magic, but it's not a heavy magic system. It's set in the medieval-ish kind of times, right? There's no advanced technology. So you're setting up the world, the characters. So I think that's good.
I'm excited that it is a different approach than what I'm used to, right? Like he's been somewhat exposed to this approach. I don't think I have at all. Like I'm trying to kind of thumb through books. Well, it's been a little while, but I feel like Jeff Wheeler did some of that. I had no idea what journey I was on when I read some of his books, but I think it's a lot more like life is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we have our goals and we think we know where we'll end up, but looking back, I'm like, definitely didn't think some of these things would have happened. And you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it is exciting in that way.
I think my mentality, well, one, it's just my personality, but this is what society has got us into. Short, action-packed.
Get to the point.
We went from 30-second commercials to 15-second commercials to 6-second commercials.
Well, and reels.
And
Like,
real.
Yeah.
And I used to love watching documentaries. Now I'm like, can I watch a documentary on YouTube in 15 minutes? Like,
Yeah.
you have, but that's just, I think, a product of information and just those hits of dopamine, like getting new information.
Yeah.
But you talked about, I think it was your last one or the last two on your podcast, is it's great to go through those fun, exciting books that are fast, but then it's over. Like, bummer.
Yeah.
And having been an avid audiobook listener, I've burned through all my favorite authors and all their books. And so now I'm constantly trying, and then I'm doing research for hours trying to find the next book series to start
Yeah.
so that I can do it. So it's fun that it's fast and action packed. You guys brought up Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and how short it was,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But then also Sanderson's latest book is 64 hours of audio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I'm over halfway through.
I'm still over here with my like 6-hour books.
But so in some ways, like, yes, that was fun, but then it's like, it's a bummer it's over.
Yeah.
Or you have this approach, which is get to know these characters intimately, have a well thought out plan and idea, and then, continue that on for a long time. For 98 books.
Yeah.
Which I do feel like our oldest son is 11. So you don't know. I think that's something like when he can read this, which he's like begged us to read the book. And I'm like, I think you can, but I need to reread it with that mindset.
Yeah.
But right. Like I think he can. But I think he'll enjoy that part of it too, because he's read a few series, but he started reading Vampirates, which I'd never heard of. But he thought it was 3 books and it ended up it's 5 books, I think. So he was excited because he finished the 3rd and he's like, I'm so sad. Like it's over.
Yeah.
And like this was his first experience, like thoroughly getting into like a series and getting to know the people and the world. And he's like in it. And he loved it so much. And he was so sad when it was over. And so like I looked into it, I'm like, dude, bonus, there's 2 more. And he was stoked. He hasn't finished the 5th one, even though he could have, because
He doesn't want it to end.
Yeah.
So he's reading it super slow, like just a little bit each night or a little bit in his like reading class or whatever, because he doesn't want it to end.
Yeah.
And so I do think like there's something to be said about like a full, well thought out, long series that you can just really fall in love with and like sink into, I think
It's
he's
the-
going to really enjoy that.
Many installments of a longer arc.
Yeah.
And that's really, I mean, I've mentioned before, like we like watching Downton Abbey,
Oh,
and I'm like, there's a whole bunch of stuff where like things aren't happening, but people are happening, and you're really getting into the lives of the
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
And there's books that I've read that are those types of books where I'm like, I'm not getting, I mean, I do get like in the Wheel of Time, the battle at Dumais Wells, where Rand is in the trapped in the box and shielded, and then the Ashaman arrive. I'm like, anybody who hasn't read Wheel of Time, you'll figure it out when you get there. It's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't read Wheel of Time?
But we started.
There's too many of
so
them.
I actually
Okay.
know
It's
Brandon,
it's
and I know-
daunting.
yeah.
Okay.
That many books. So that maybe down the road when you're on book 14, like that's scary. That's a commitment.
Yeah.
Plus, I've heard you and Dad talk about how slow they are. So I just have.
But it's like that scene. I'm like, from a fantasy battle scene where it's like in this one scene where you're building tension and then you get this destructive payoff of just absolute chaos, and you're like, oh my gosh. The first time I read it, I was like,
Yes.
oh my gosh. Reading it.
Like, I'm not going to read this fast.
Yeah. I'm like, I gotta go to bed. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, it's like midnight. I said, nope, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm
I'm committed now.
I have to know. I have to keep reading. And I love scenes like that just suck me in and keep me going. I'm like, but you can't write an entire book series that is just that.
No, I need the parts that are like, whew, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all right.
And plus, like I guess there are some books that just suck you in and you just turn the pages and then you're like, well, this book's over.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Where's book 2? Nope. You just got that one
right.
because the author went like this. And then they're like, they're in the
Those are cool
hospital.
ideas. Yeah.
They're in the hospital now and they can never write a book again.
Right.
Like,
They burned them.
They just had to have a lobotomy. But it's I do enjoy where it's just bam, it hits you, pulls you in, and then you get through it and you're like, oh man, that was a thrill ride. That was fun. But you get into series, stories where I'm like, sometimes I want it to build and grow
Mhm.
and grow, just like you said, like life.
Yeah.
I want to experience that person's life through their eyes and see everything unfold.
Yeah.
And learn their world through their eyes. I mean, how many video game things are there where it's world building video games where people have been doing it they're still playing the same game 12 years later. I mean, or like sim type game. It's not everybody's thing, but
Oh no, I'm just like, I don't know if that sounds crazy.
like there are people that they are immersed in that thing.
Right.
All the little details and intricacies.
Mhm.
And then the new game comes out and it's not like you're starting a whole different story. And we're continuing.
We're advancing
Right.
the advancing story.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is, with all your master plans that you've laid out, so when there's Realms of Durden, the amusement park is really like your end goal.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you have plenty of content to world build.
Okay, but like, there's a reason why Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or Wheel of Time or whatever has such they're so iconic.
You need those moments to establish characters, to truly establish characters. And I think, again, in this book 1, you're setting up these characters and you're setting up the characters' characteristics. So when people do things down the road, you're like, that makes it. That's on brand for that person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Think about things that will happen. It's like, that's why they did that.
Right.
Because that fits who they are. Instead of just telling the reader, and then so and so did this thing. It's like, oh, that thing is sitting over there. You're like, oh, I know character A is going to run over there
Do the
and just
thing.
can't
Yeah.
help themselves. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's, they're, just kind of mentally skimming through book 1 where I'm like, we introduce right at the beginning, we introduce the Trekking. The Trekking, like their whole people are going to come into play with
Things.
solving things, fixing the world. And
Right.
then Teth is free. Teth
He's
killed
on the loose.
the jailer. He's out there. Yeah. We've introduced Alandar and Lady Iskar and Narvosh and Bertrand and like
The friends are in the mines.
Fran and Meg. They're sent off. They didn't die. They didn't die now. They're sent off into the copper mines. And like all these things are now set up, and then we roll into book 2. They've arrived at the end of book 1. Tuar and the Fondra have arrived at Samunas, and they rode with this crazy wagon driver guy, Elman.
Just get up there.
Yeah. We were talking before, like one of my favorite scenes that we've written is that interaction between Tawara and Elman when Athondra sprains her ankle. And he's like, well, can you get her up on the bullwhacker? She's like, excuse me? What?
Is that a real
What?
word?
Yeah.
Is that like a real thing?
We just made it up.
Oh,
I didn't know if that was like you did research or something.
right. I just figured that was. term.
Yeah, there's different names for it.
I'm just gonna start
There's-
calling my kids that.
Little
Get
bulwark.
her, bulwark.
Term of endearment, obviously.
But no, like Elman will come back again. Like
There are some things we don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean we don't know.
Well, I'm just like realizing, like, wait, I don't know what happens with Ted.
We have like main character big arc things. There's still plenty
There's so much
that
we
we don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's-
like what's the name of the city they just got to?
some of the Samunas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we know what it is?
Keep at Samunas.
We know it's a monastery. That's all
Okay,
we
the
know.
monster. Yeah.
But we know, so we know in book one, the monastery where Tawara's mother went when she was young. And Tawara's mother took Tawara there with her. And there was some secret about Tawara, which is why that her mother was afraid of. So there was something happening with Tawara that her mother was afraid for her. So while her father was
She has ice
away,
powers.
I forgot
Right?
about that.
That's what it is.
Until you just said that, I was like,
yeah.
what could that be? Oh,
So it was in her journal. She took Tawara to Samunas, and while she was there, found an answer in a way to keep Tawara secret and protect her, with the intent of telling her when she got older.
That
And
she's
she
dead.
died. So now they've arrived at Samunas. Her father didn't even know about it because it was in a secret journal that her mother didn't even reveal. And Tawara can't show her father and be like, hey, because now her father's dead too. So the only way for her to get answers is to go to Samunas.
which is going to be a,
Yeah.
our favorite. It's a good.
So like all the little things in there, and even like little pieces of stuff that we've thrown in, are all going to come out in the future. Are all going to tie in to things
Yeah,
that come up later.
it is definitely vines that are just are branches. There are many branches, many storylines.
Love it though. I mean, that's what we asked for.
We just need it fast.
Right.
Yes. It's taking too long.
Yeah.
Time. I mean, because we got the first.
2021.
Yeah, it was like COVID.
Yeah.
We had been there. We came up and lived with you guys.
Yeah.
Then we had moved back, and then I printed it. Still had that.
That was book 1 and 2.
Oh,
Basically, it was all book 1 at the time. We basically cut that.
which makes sense because it was like a yeah.
I don't know.
Gonna
We're
be
probably
worth
going to do a
something one
special
day.
edition at some point where it's going to be like, because this is part 1, and we'll be like one book, parts 1 through 5, and it'll be the A Flight from Shadows, and then To Bind with Blood, The Death of a Queen, and then we'll have
It was just
each of them. We'll be like,
a quarter.
yeah, you're like, here it is,
Yeah.
2,500
We'll
pages.
just have a room in our
Looks like-
house. This is
You go on one end, it will turn the page.
Yeah. exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, spoilers. I mean, I don't know because all these arcs continue on later. All
Yeah.
the spoilers. And we've met the main characters.
Corvin. Wrapping up the epilogue.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that?
I like. Well,
It's
first
been,
of all,
it's been a
like,
minute.
I want to
It's been a
know.
minute.
I want to know. Like, I guess I need to talk to my stepmom and stuff. But like, if that just came out of nowhere for them, or if they got to that
If
like
they knew.
themselves. Yeah, I want to know if people are like, dude, I called it
had
at
some
this scene, or I
Well,
called it
theories.
here.
Well,
Or
remember in
no
one of the
idea.
versions we had, I think it was like chapter 6. We actually had, well, it was after Tawara comes back. It was after the dinner where Tawara confronts Corvin,
Yes.
throws the pudding in his chest,
Yes.
and then he leaves. Tawara leaves, we had another chapter right there. And it was Corvin going back to his study and writing a letter.
Yeah. I remember that. Now.
Yeah.
Even we forget stuff. There's been so much.
But it was Corvin, and we had him go, and then we had the letter written, and it was written to someone. We didn't say who it was written to, and it was him saying the failure in the Crescent Valley, these like all this, you're putting stuff at risk. This stuff didn't happen the way it was supposed to, and at that point, Tawara's father was killed too, and we're like, all of this, this is all going to be on your head if stuff crumbles, and you're going to be, it was basically Corvin, you finding out in chapter 6, Corvin's the bad guy.
Right.
He is the one, the threat inside the house.
Was there, I don't know if I can say this, wasn't there a version where she saw?
No, that's oh yeah, there was a version where there was a version where she saw Corvin, where Corvin actually killed
Yes.
her father, and she witnessed it happen.
And then didn't he like,
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was, that was, yeah.
obviously
So,
that's not the case.
Yeah, obviously, like all of that is different now.
Okay.
Um,
I was like,
but yeah, there
remembering
was,
that, I'm like,
there's a couple, there's been that, and that part has moved over here, and then
Yeah.
different books.
that's what I want to say things. Yeah.
But at one point, he killed Tawara's father in front of her.
Yes. She was like hiding, right? And
Yeah.
he didn't know that she saw.
Yeah,
And so the reader's like, what?
yeah.
That's
But then we changed it to where we're like, threats are coming after her. She gets attacked in the Crescent Valley. Threat happens at home. Duchesne gets killed. They go to the Bronze Palace. Then gets attacked there. Her father dies. They run away, and then we find out it's Corvin.
who's been behind
Yeah.
the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we find out he's the one at the epilogue of
But we
book
don't
one.
know. We don't know all the
Yeah, we
motivations.
don't know
and-
why.
Yeah.
Yet.
So yeah,
We know
it,
why.
it would be interesting to talk to people
Yeah. That's what I
and,
want to
and get their like how was that twist at the end, or how did you,
Was it a twist?
yeah, was it
Right. Did you call it or were you like,
did your heart rate go up? Did you get excited like okay it's time for the next one?
I mean, even knowing, well, I guess knowing Corbin was bad and reading that. And I'm like, I don't know why y'all stop. Y'all are so stupid. Like, what are you doing? You're going to die. But yeah. Not that I cared for them, but I'm just like,
If you messed up, don't go back.
don't go back.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in that kind of a business and you mess up,
You should probably disappear.
just take on a new life.
Just a bit of advice
New
for you
name.
criminals out there.
No, but I mean, it was a fun scene to write,
Yeah.
even though like trying to get into this person's head who totally dissociates themselves and is like, I'm painting a canvas of red,
Right.
and like is one with this sword, and it's like to them when he says eliminating inefficiencies is something that
It's the peak.
brings him fulfillment and making, feeling this like the sword is part of him. And he's literally just cutting out
Yeah.
the things that are the impurities that are messing up his plans.
Like, I hate him enough
I'm sure he has
because of what he did in book one, but like,
good backstory.
he's definitely one you hate more
Yeah.
and more and more.
But we have a whole backstory. We won't learn about that backstory till we'll start learning it later, like book 3-ish.
His backstory.
Where Corvin comes from, and that ties into a bunch of different things.
And why
That
he's such a
hopefully
lint
people are
licker.
like, what?
Oh. That's all.
But we can't
That's
get
what I
away
want to know. Did anyone have one of those moments with
with him.
the epilogue?
With the
Yeah.
epilogue, yeah.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
I wish there was like a meme of Chris doing like a GIF or whatever. What?
in post
Yeah, can we make that? You have to
Zoom
face
in.
the camera though.
and just
Like,
put that on
just-
repeat.
It's not.
So yeah, lots more to come.
Yes.
But No, it's been a fun ride so far.
We've enjoyed it. We
Yeah.
obviously it's been happening for a long time, so we've been enjoyed the ride, and we're excited as just outside observers to see everything that happens and how you fill all the details in and how people receive it. So it's really
Before we wrap up, Jared,
Oh,
there's,
yeah.
there's a couple of things over there. You got to close your eyes for a second. Okay, Adam and Jackie are closing their eyes. No peeking. So these, you can see them on the camera. They haven't seen them yet. Okay, here you go.
Are we supposed to
You
look
guys
at?
can open your eyes now.
Oh my goodness, that is so cool! What
It's a
the
stein.
heck?
Yes. Or those are root beer float.
Root beer
Yeah.
okay. This one, thank you. This is
It's
fantastic.
So awesome, thanks, y'all.
Two, we did buy the stickers and the shirt, so which is available somewhere. Merch, you still have merch?
Yep,
Yes,
it's
no, yes,
yeah,
no,
it's still
yes.
out there. It's still out there. We're working on getting more direct and a little bit broader stuff. But
For those,
speaking
for
of,
those who are listening, they're that's more than a pint. That's,
Right?
one of the-
I don't know how large that is.
they're like
but
I think there's 18 ounces.
you know,
Okay.
they're more than that.
Maybe it's
They're at
20.
least 24-ounce steins with the book logo on the front.
and the name.
And
And
the,
then-
the Chronicles of Durden series name on it,
These are like
etched in glass.
awesome.
Yeah, they're I don't know if they're crystal, but it's glass.
Yeah.
It's all
Courtesy
etched.
of Caleb's laser engraving.
That's really cool.
So I will say, you guys used to work at Solar City.
Yeah.
And you had custom mugs made.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mythos and Chronos.
Still have my Chronos mugs.
So and that just as soon as I saw that, took me right back to your mugs. So Jackie has no idea what's happening, but
No, but
that's fantastic.
I know so.
You grew up with our mugs.
I did grow up with them having similar mugs. I think they're small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're definitely small.
These are awesome.
Yeah, these are for very large root beer
Dak is
floats.
going to try to steal this. I
Yeah.
can tell you. Our oldest, he's going to try to steal it. He loves everything about your books, and he wants
To be a
so
part of
badly to be part of it. Like he calls me Jackaroff all the time.
all the kids do.
Well, now
But yeah, he started that.
he did.
Yeah.
I don't know that he calls you Adamar very often. Every now and then, but he absolutely loves it. He thinks it's the coolest thing. So
Well, thank you.
Yep.
We'll put them to good use.
we will.
I'll probably put Mountain Dew in it.
Right, yeah,
And
that works. Mountain Dew Zero, right?
Yes.
not sponsored.
Thank
but
y'all.
Willing to be.
It's super thoughtful.
No. He'll put non-cola green carbonated drink.
Yes. Oh, yes. Mine will be brown.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for meeting us here.
Yeah.
We got some family. We're just meeting up as family. So
Yep.
They came, we came, we met in a third party location, but
Yes. Way out of the middle
Yeah.
for both of us.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a
Yeah, we're
beautiful
off.
hotel.
Anybody watching, we are obviously in a hotel room. So, but it's been fun. We are hoping. I mean, we're months behind on where we wanted to be with book 1 or book 2, but we're making progress. We're going to get there, and then hopefully we'll book 3 right behind it.
So you're just in the final stages of editing, rewrites.
We're going through chapter by chapter
Okay.
and doing like, okay, where do we need to fix? Where do we need rewrites? And where do we need updates? And so some of it, we're still adding like little pieces of new stuff here and there where we're like, we got to add this here. We need this piece here. You know, we need this one thing that was going to be in book 3. It needs to be right here, right now. You know, so where we're at right now, we should have been here in like July,
But
but
Yes, adult.
we did come to your house this week.
yeah, that was it.
That was
the
it.
whole thing.
That did it.
That was the reason.
Hashtag worth it.
We did go to the a few times. So
Totally blame you. All the times we're supposed to be working.
Well, when we're there, it's like playtime.
No,
Come on, kids,
literally.
Play.
The weekend we went to the lake, the plan was, I was like, Jared, I'm off work, taking a couple days off around 4th of July. I'm going to come to your house and we're going to work on book stuff. That's the plan. And then I got to Jared's house and Jared's like, Adam and Jackie are here. Want to go to the lake? And I'm like, what?
Of course.
He's like, yeah, we're going to the lake. And I'm like, okay.
We send Shaylee in. Say please. Say
Yeah.
please.
And then I'm like, okay, yes, we're doing that.
Did you have a bad time?
Hey, it was
Oh.
that I wide open on that jet ski on the fast one.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
that was pretty amazeballs.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
regrets.
We bring our jet ski. Mom and dad have jet skis. So
Yes.
we. I mean, that's
I
a big.
Although part of that, I spent what, an hour and a half of that jet ski time stuck at one end of the lake, waiting
yeah.
for somebody to come tow me back.
We did
So
tell
on
you that.
that part, you're like, I could be writing.
I'm like, if I had a laptop right here, I could be writing this whole time while I'm sitting here.
Oh, that was the battery though, right?
Yeah,
It was the
That was the
battery.
one.
Pro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kept disconnecting. No, it was the one, the key.
Oh yeah,
Key
small
had the-
pads. Yeah.
Yeah, the key had the short in it. So I made it. It like died once, died a second time, and then we're like, oh, just keep going. It's good. We go all the way down to the end of the lake. And then Jared's, the battery, or no, yours, the one
Oh,
you
yeah.
were on, the battery actually stopped working.
Yes. So then we were
And-
both stuck.
So then Jared is towing you back, and I'm like, hey guys, this thing doesn't run. And you're like, it was like,
We were already hooked up.
it
So
was
he-
like Ralphie in A Christmas Story when he's like, "But the bell rang," and the kid's like, "Well, I'm dying. It's stuck to the vine." And he's like, "But the bell rang. I don't know what I'm supposed to do." And then he runs inside. And I'm like, I'm the kid stuck there
That's
to the flagpole.
We swapped out our battery
funny.
and then we came and got you.
Yeah,
Well, I think Jared towed us back.
told you
And
that.
then
Yeah, and
he
then
went back.
eventually somebody was like, "Wait a minute, Chris isn't over here. It's been a long time. He should have been back hours ago."
But
Oh my goodness.
that's a whole nother. Yeah. But anyway, it was worth it.
And whether I don't know if people know this, but in your jet ski, the little paddle is in there, so if you get stuck. And if you've never tried it and you try to paddle, you'll realize that doesn't work. We're
Pointless.
jacked.
It's completely pointless.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like the Titanic is sinking. Well, here's this mug. Start bailing. Like, this is terrible. It doesn't work at all.
Well, just for future, we come up for every 4th of July
You ain't right.
to have a good time. Okay, just know dirt bikes, jet skis,
No
fireworks,
deadlines in July.
late night Uno sessions. It's just that is what it is.
And we'll pull out all the stops to bribe you into playing with us. So
But
So
we'll get
anyway,
there.
you wanted to be there in July, but you're getting there.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, we're getting there. I mean, we're going to try to push, double down with. I don't have any more home construction to do. We've got the studio
I
areas
have
set
a
up.
question about that because you're Howell. Was it a Howell construction? Like you did it yourself, or you actually paid?
No, I did it.
Yeah,
Jared came up and helped.
I knew you would. It's just a Howell thing. Like,
Well, it
hey,
was
let's
the-
raise a barn or a house or
I mean, it was literally
right. I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it cost me
You're not wrong.
materials to put it up, and I'm like, they're already coming to redo the roof, and so like I had it figured out. Like, had I paid somebody, I saved about $20,000
do you
doing it myself.
Do you remember the first time you came to our house? You were like, you could extend that second story out.
Yeah.
And you're like, we could do this and that. And that's a goal of ours.
it is a goal of ours.
But anyways,
I mean,
and you're like, as a Howell construction, that wouldn't, like $30,000, whatever, just in materials. But we'll do all the work. Yeah, okay. So you're still on the hook for that. That was your idea. So you're going to have to
Yeah, so you have
follow
to
through. But
when
we'll make sure at least book 3 is done.
when we find the old lady that's like, we want to help you, just
Yes.
you don't have to work anymore. And I'll
Could
be
it be,
like, great,
could it be
okay.
an old guy?
Well, I'm going to take a month. It could be an old guy.
What if he wants
Could be a
pictures
young
of you in
guy.
a bathing suit?
Hey, I have my swimsuit right over there.
What about
We
like
can
an
take pictures
Australian
now.
swimsuit?
Okay. Wow.
We can take pictures now, and you can have them ready.
$20
Be like-
$20?
God.
Okay, we better wrap this
Yeah.
up. We better
It's
wrap
late.
this up. It's getting later. Okay, well, thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, we always appreciate and enjoy having you.
You know where we are. You know where you are.
Yep. And thanks for you guys listening to us, coming along for the ride. There'll be more to come. Looking forward to 2025. Hopefully, have some good things happen.
Yeah. We'll
Absolutely.
our commitment for 2025 is to hold you accountable to get more books done.
Okay.
Yes.
Crack the whip.
Yes.
With some
For-
fun mixed in.
Your fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. Appreciate you all. Appreciate you listening along with us. And till next time, go in good spirits. Thanks for listening to the Creators Guild podcast. Don't forget to get your copy of A Flight from Shadows, available on Amazon. While you're there, please rate it and give it a review. If you like the Creators Guild, please like and subscribe, and make sure to share it with your friends. Until next time, go in good spirits.